Welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast with Noelle Kustas, where we ignite the spark to discover your favorite self. It is time to get real, ladies.
Hello, and welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast. I'm your host, Noelle Kustas. Today's episode is titled When Change Smacks You in the Face: The Bold, the Beautiful, and the Brutal. Oh, wait, I think it's the other way around. The bold, the brutal, and the beautiful. Listen, I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like change doesn't just knock gently on the door. It shows up like a wrecking ball, literally, without warning. Typically, there's no makeup involved. There's a messy bun, there's sweatpants, and it's like, hey girl, we're doing this right now. I have to tell you, if you're a woman who has ever faced a moment where life flipped the script on you, whether it was planned or it was completely out of left field, this episode is for you. If you are navigating loss, if you are pivoting in purpose, or maybe you are questioning every single thing that you have built, or just wondering how in the heck you are holding it all together while carrying the weight of everyone else, this one is for you, I promise. Because this just isn't about change. This is going to be about identity. It's about living fully now. It's about the grief and the grace of letting go of something. It's going to be about the courage to start again and what it takes to do that. You see, here's the thing. I started this year. It's so wild when I think about it now. I started this year with the word bold. Okay. I knew that was my word. I go through a whole thing before the beginning of the year, and I really pray on it. It is an intentional practice that I do, is picking my word for the year. And I can honestly say, I thought bold would mean big decisions. I knew it was going to be about brave moves. And I also knew that it was going to be about stepping into more because I was just starting the Glow Up School. I was just launching it. And yes, all of those things have happened. Okay. But what I didn't expect was how bold would also mean breaking open, feeling super raw, facing things that I was not planning for, and also asking some hard questions I didn't think I'd have to ask. So, this week, for instance, I'm releasing a book and I am so excited about it. It is a collaborative book, but nonetheless, it's the first time I've ever put a chapter of my story into the world. Okay, like wide open, knowing that whatever I write, whatever I put down is going to be in print in the world, right? Like that required a level of vulnerability I wasn't totally prepared for. So let's just sit in that for a moment. Like the discomfort of being seen, of like letting my story breathe outside of my own journal or my prayer time that I have, right? And yes, it was a chosen experience, it was a chosen change, but you don't realize until you're in it. I said yes to it for sure. I was excited about the opportunity and I opened myself up to this process. I peeled back the layers that I hadn't shared publicly before. I mean, my circle knew the story, you guys, if you've been around here for a while, you know parts of my story. And again, this is just a chapter. I know there is more to come, but in doing this chapter, I realized how healing and how humbling it is to invite people into your truth before you have the whole story figured out. And so, funny thing is, I thought I was ready for the release, and then all of a sudden things shifted, and the timing changed on when the book was going to come out and all the logistics behind, because believe me, guys, there's lots of logistics behind writing a book and publishing a book. And what I envisioned this would be transformed into something else entirely. And I didn't have control over the shift. And then all of a sudden I started freaking out and I started second guessing everything. I was going like, was this the right time? Did I, do this maybe in the wrong season? Should I have waited? But I soon realized that I needed to check myself. I had to anchor back into the purpose. My whole point being is that bold doesn't always look like certainty. Sometimes bold means releasing the thing even when the timing feels off. Trusting that what looks like a delay might actually be divine. And while I was walking through that, guess what else happens? Another wave hits. Isn't that how life goes sometimes? So, the other wave, for the last 2 years, I've been building something in my local community that I loved deeply. I poured my heart into it. I was leading a chapter. It was a networking chapter. I was really creating space and I believe just really cultivating this beautiful sisterhood. And this summer, I found out it was going to be going away. Our founder had to make her own bold pivot. And suddenly I was faced with the decision. Do I continue this work on my own? Do I rebuild something from scratch? Or do I just release it altogether? Because again, I had other things in motion. So it wasn't just a business decision. It ended up being a real soul deep wrestling. There were sleepless nights. I cried some tears. I said a lot of prayers. I was writing in my journal a ton, just asking myself a ton of questions and then confessing some feelings that I was having around it. And it was me sitting at the edge of what I thought I was building and asking God, is this still for me? Or is this my release? So this pivot was hard earned. I feel like it, like I said, filled with a lot of tears. It was really, I think the best word I could use to describe it is it was disorienting. And it actually started to change everything that I thought was coming next. So that's what was so wild about it. Okay. So that's, two things that were just really prevalent. And then this past weekend, something else hit me and it kind of hit straight in the heart because I went to a memorial for a parent of a former student, and she was someone that I met obviously when her child was in my class. She was very active at the school that I worked at. And then, not to mention, her entire family became like this huge entity in our lives due to different reasons. And this has been like for the last 14 years. She has moved away from our town, our city, but through Facebook, through social media, you still keep in touch and you still see her, parts of her family. So although we weren't like best friends or anything like that. She was someone that was special. She was someone that was always so kind and just made an impact. She just made an impact. And I would call her a friend. If I saw her, we would chat, we would catch up, we would talk in the DMs sometimes in our world in social media. And here's what happens. And this is the very, very long story, making it short, is she had gone to visit her daughter, who was my previous student, who was just adorable and lovely and all the things. And she has babies now. Again, this starts to age me, it freaks me out. But she went to go visit her and she went to go visit her grandbabies. And she got into a car accident within the first day of being there. She ended up, everybody else was okay, but for her, she ended up breaking her leg in several places. And honestly, it was very serious. I mean, I was literally, getting phone calls like, keep her in your prayers, because she could lose part of her leg. But she made it through the surgery, and we were all rejoicing in that. And then, literally, within 24 hours, she passed away. And it all happened so fast. It felt so abrupt. One minute it was a phone chain of, please pray for her and the surgery. It doesn't look good. She could lose part of her leg, to literally passing away after successfully making it through surgery. Like, what? Wait, slow down, rewind. What is happening here? It didn't make sense, and it still doesn't make sense to me. And I have to just share this really quickly. This is a very, very side note, but I just think it is so beautiful and such a great reminder while we're on this topic of loss and losing someone so suddenly, and talk about a change slapping you in the face, literally. Her husband shared the story of the last picture they took together, and it was at sunset. Sunsets were her favorite, so I guess this is just a little tribute to her. But she made him take a walk up this hill, which was her favorite spot to take pictures of the sunset. And he didn't really want to. He very much like said, I was complaining, I didn't want to do it, but she insisted. She loved to take pictures too. So she loved her sunsets, she loved to take pictures. And of course, in his mind, like any of us, I'm sure it's like oh, seriously, come on, there's going to be so many more opportunities to take a sunset picture. And then here we are, fast forward. Now, this is the photo that he is clinging to. So, what I want to share in that is, take the picture, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's inconvenient, even when the lighting isn't perfect, your body's not perfect, your makeup's not perfect, because you never know when that picture becomes the moment that matters. And I just had to share that because he shared that so beautifully as like a side note, like, take the picture. She would want you to know to take the pictures, and just meaning like, be in the moment, because we just never know when change is going to happen. So I didn't want to leave that part out because I thought it was so important to share. But, and of course, well, here's the thing, you guys. For those of you that know me and you have been around this podcast for a while, you know that this podcast comes from a deeply organic space. I always feel like I want you to feel like you're just on the couch with me, that we're just having this conversation. My solo episodes are rarely pre-scripted. I mean, we talk about some topics. I go over those topics, but honestly, I can't even tell you how many times I interrupt the whole thing and I'm like, I need to talk about this because this is something that spoke to me this last weekend or this week or whatever. Because they're really sparked by life, by what I'm walking through, by what hits me deep. And this one came straight from that memorial, because in my mind I was like, I need to talk about this. I need to talk about the change that can smack us right in the face. Because there's change that we can choose, And then there's change that chooses us. So writing the book was more of a chosen change. I said yes to it, knowing it would stretch me, knowing it would demand that vulnerability. I opened a door that I kept kind of closing for a while. And even though it came with unexpected timing and twists, it was something I chose to do because I knew it mattered. I may not have chosen the end result in timing and the process we all went through to get this book written and published, but it was still a choice to stay in it for the longer haul. And then the business, well, that pivot was something else entirely. It was kind of more of my unraveling. It was the kind of decision that made me question everything. And it wasn't made in public, it wasn't even a brainstorming session. It was made in the trenches. When I heard it was going away, I had to make a decision and I had to make it pretty quickly. So there again was a lot of prayer and there was some back and forth dialogue with God. There was dialogue with my husband, with my family, and through wondering if I was giving up too soon or holding on to it for too long. These are the changes that crash in. And then, of course, there is the additional ones that crash in a different way. And those are the loss. Those are the breakups. Those are the health scares. Maybe it's business, a breakdown in business. The unexpected change. These moments that demand something from us we didn't prepare for. They strip away the surface and call us into something deeper. They call us into something that's going to be more anchored, something more honest. And a lot of times they force us to slow down. They force us to listen, to ask some of those new questions, and to maybe even stop performing and to start becoming. And that is where the transformation happens. Because that's where we're being asked to meet a new version of ourselves. And that's where I just want to spend a little bit more time today, not just in the pain or in the pivot, but in the possibility. Because here is what I am learning is that every breakdown is an opening. It's a doorway. It is this invitation to become. And the way I have been looking at it is that possibility is the space between who you were and who you're becoming. It's where clarity starts to really form. Sometimes this is where new dreams get whispered, and I can say that now, looking hindsight on what I've been through in the last couple of months, that new dreams started to get whispered. It can be where you start to sense what you thought was the end might actually be the beginning. And oftentimes it is super uncomfortable. Oftentimes it is really, really freaking painful. I am not going to sit here and pretend like it's not, because it is. But it's also sacred because when you allow yourself to be cracked open, you also allow more light to get in. And that is what I want you to hold on to. This moment that you're in right now might just be the making of you. So I always just want to say, whatever you do, don't rush to fix it. Don't numb it out. And I definitely want to say, because I know I'm speaking to women that love to hustle or just are so trained to hustle. It is their default. Don't default to hustle. This is the time when you need to pause, when you need to listen and just be in it. Because in the pause, that is when God often starts to speak. That is when your intuition starts to speak. And in that stillness, he reminds you, you were made for this. You were made for this. And that is what I think is so cool. So, what do you do with that? You get curious and you ask, what is this here to teach me? What part of me is being refined? What story do I get to rewrite? Because let's face it, growth, that rarely looks glamorous when you're in it. It's gonna look more like tears in the car. Sometimes it looks like deleting the plan and starting all over again. And just like I talked about, it's sometimes just sitting in that silence and choosing not to force it. You don't have to force it. But what I can tell you is that every bit of it, it's doing something in you, something holy, something necessary. I think if we look at it from that lens, we start to see it differently. It's the noticing. It's the noticing and the becoming. I sat with all of the authors in the book the other night and we recorded a YouTube video and we were talking about that. And we talked about the becoming and what we went through in the process. And, it just was such an eye opener, such a reminder. So today might not be about fixing your life, right? Because we're not here to rush it. But maybe today is about finding yourself in the mess of it and recognizing that this middle moment, this uncertain, undefined space is where your next level of identity could be your faith. Maybe it's the next level of your faith. Maybe it's the next level of your alignment. It's where all of that is forged. And friend, I'm going to tell you, if you let it in, this could be the beginning of the greatest becoming yet. Believe me, trust me in this. Trust me in this. Even in the hardest times, you guys. And here's what I want you to know too, is that eye to eye, heart to heart, you do not ever have to figure out all of this alone. Lean in on your people. Lean into it. If you have a village, lean into that. Because I never want anyone to feel like they're alone in it. And this is part of the reason why I have such a heart for this podcast is because I want women to feel seen and heard. I want you to feel seen and heard and to know that you are not alone. We may be going through things differently, but there's this there's this same what's the word I'm looking for? There's this same thread. There's a thread that runs deep through all of it, through all of us. So I just want you to hold on to that today. And if you felt like I was speaking directly to you today, it's because I always believe it's because you were meant to hear this. And I believe that your story matters, your season matters. You're not crazy for feeling overwhelmed in this shift, in this pivot, in this change that took you by surprise. Trust me on this one. I have had more unexpected pivots than I can wrap my brain around. And the one thing I can also say is it doesn't get easier, but one thing I do know for sure is that the lessons become more clear. And this is why I also think community matters. This is why being in the room matters. This is why being a part of your village matters. You matter. So, if this hit home for you, or maybe you're ready for more, here are just, a few ways to stay close with what we do here at Rise to Shine Co. If you have thought, I just want to have more of a community, I don't really have that village, or my village has changed. Things have changed in my life. And so I'm just trying to redefine that in itself. Well, I will tell you that in that space, we are rising better together. And it isn't just a space for support, it's a space for activation as well. So the Glow Up School would possibly be a great option for you. I love being able to mentor one on one as well. So if you're navigating something really bold or a huge identity shift, and you just want that real tailored support to hold your heart and to hold your vision, I am so happy to talk and chat with that about you. And of course, stick around here. We'd love to cover all types of topics that are relevant in this season of life. So just know that this space is always here for you. And here are some questions, just really quick too. If you are like, okay, wait, I still am trying to process some things. Here's some questions that you can journal through or talk out with a trusted friend or someone that you love. Here's just a few. You could journal out, what truth did I need to hear today? You could journal out, where have I been forcing something that's no longer aligned with me? Or maybe you're even asking, what's the possibility that might be opening up in my life right now? Maybe you need to really reflect on that and answer that question. So just know that you can journal that out. I always find it's just a really great way to reflect and find some of that clarity if you are searching for that, if something is tugging at you. And then, of course, finally, if this did speak to you, share it. You can tag me at joyful_Noelle and tell me what hit you the hardest. My DMs are always open. I love, love, love to chat with you guys because I want to celebrate your becoming right alongside of you. I want to know what this community is going through. I want to know how I can best serve you. And then also, if you ever think that this is something someone else needs to hear, share it. Please, all of that helps spread the message and it helps spread this movement. And I am just so grateful for all of you. So, so grateful. So, you guys, until next time, remember you're not behind, you are becoming. And then also, as I always say, keep rising, keep shining, and know your best day is right here waiting for you. All right, my friends, see you next time. Have a great day and sending you so much love through any change you might be going through. All right, guys, see you next time.
Thanks for joining me here today. Your presence means the world to me. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider leaving a rating and review, and don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Head to the show notes and let's connect. Rise to Shine Co. is ready to support you in coaching, collaboration, life tips, or even a coffee chat. Until next time, keep shining, my friends.